Rebirth cannot escape the cycle of karma. Welcome back, everyone, to Mind Podcast. Any karmic habit, whether virtuous or unwholesome, that we have planted in our consciousness in the past will lead us to be reborn with a corresponding quality of happiness or suffering. Sometimes people find it hard to believe that after this life ends, there is another life to come. How can one be sure that rebirth truly exists? Modern science may not provide exact proof to answer this question, but we should not hastily dismiss explanations from masters of recognized traditions in the field of spiritual realization, from those who have deeply penetrated the ultimate truth of all phenomena. Rebirth, or continued reincarnation, is a main pillar in a few Eastern belief systems. Some mystical Jewish schools also accept reincarnation as the beginning of the next cycle of life. Many great Buddhist masters have been able to truly recall and recount their past lives. Even the Buddha himself told hundreds of stories about his past lives. That famous collection is called the Jataka Tales, stories of previous births or past life stories. He also confirmed the past lives of others. Furthermore, there are ordinary men and women in different countries, from different races and religions, who spontaneously remember past lives, which families they came from, where they lived, and which towns they resided in, even though in this life, from childhood to adulthood, they had never visited those places, nor met anyone from their previous life. Particularly striking are the many cases of children who have recounted vivid details about their previous life circumstances, despite having never been to or seen those former places in their current lifetime. The most famous research on past lives from children's memories was conducted by Ian Stevenson, Maryland. Over the past 40 years, he collected thousands of cases in South Asia and the Middle East, endeavoring to study this topic through the lens of science. In Tibet, there have been countless examples of people about to pass away who predicted the names of their future parents and the places they would be born. There are also children who remember details of their previous lives. In Tibetan Buddhism, there are thousands of senior monastics called tulkus, skade nirmanakaya, considered incarnations. People believe that a tulku is a manifestation of a fully enlightened Buddha or the rebirth of a highly realized meditation master. At the time of death, some lamas occasionally instruct their disciples on where they will be reborn. In a few cases, from a very young age, tulkus begin to speak of who they were in a past life and what they wished or needed to accomplish. However, in Tibet, the most commonly accepted procedure for identifying a reincarnation is after checking many signs, followed by an official recognition from another highly esteemed lama. Even so, some misidentifications of tulkus occur due to ambitious parents or other selfish factors, or simply from misunderstanding. Some tulkus remember their former lives or exhibit the qualities of their past incarnations. For example, my teacher, the 4th Dodrupchen Rinpoche, surprised many people when he was only 3 or 4 years old by continually talking about the place where the 3rd Dodrupchen had lived. He recited prayers that he had never been taught, spoke verses he did not understand from memory, and demonstrated miraculous powers. He also described the pure land of Guru Padmasambhava, Guru Rinpoche, as he had personally seen it. Even in the United States, acceptance of rebirth has been growing. A Gallup poll conducted some years ago reported that 25% of Americans believe in the reincarnation of the soul, consciousness, in a new body. However, many purely Western believers still reject the idea of rebirth. Nevertheless, overall they agree with Buddhism on 2 crucial points. If you are selfless and always help others with love, a good condition awaits you after death. And if you are always acting with anger and harming other living beings, you will face negative consequences. Regardless of what we have done up to this point, most religions hold the hope of improving our future circumstances. Even though different traditions use various names or forms for this necessary transformation, such as repentance, forgiveness, conversion, salvation, redemption, or liberation, the core meaning is that, through one's own determination and with the help of a sacred power, the path ahead opens for us to rise to a happier life with higher spiritual awareness. Liberation or rebirth. From a Buddhist perspective, everyone will naturally be reborn after death unless they transcend the cycle of birth and death through meditative practice that realizes enlightenment. Upon achieving full enlightenment, Buddhahood, one will never again be reborn into any worldly realm because one is no longer subject to the karmic forces that lead to rebirth. That person abides permanently in the sacred realm of Buddha's wisdom, as well as in the Buddha fields and the Dharmakaya and Sambhogakaya enlightened bodies of Buddhahood, a state of supreme bliss, absolute joy, and realization of the noble fruit. After that, others may perceive one's Sambhogakaya, which manifests clearly in physical form to those who are spiritually open and karmically ready for such a vision. This Sambhogakaya is a state of complete enlightenment, not created by causes and conditions or karma, but arising from the power of one's great compassion, serving all sentient beings in this world. Attaining enlightenment in this life, or extending into one of the 3 future eons of the cycle of birth and death, is the realization of advanced meditation masters. If you are an ordinary being, not a highly accomplished master, not enlightened or fully enlightened, then upon death you are naturally bound to rebirth by your own karmic forces. Once again, you embark on other life paths. We discuss the conditions of that in Chapter 1. In this chapter, we explore why and how we are reborn, either in the Pure Land or one of the 6 cyclical realms, the round of birth and death, the worlds of gods, devas, asuras, humans, animals, hungry ghosts, pretas, and hell beings. Even if you are not a high-level master and remain under karmic control, if you have accumulated virtue or merit through ethical conduct, you can still be reborn in a Pure Land or enjoy a noble human existence. As such, you could purposefully make use of it to serve others, and gradually the ultimate goal of enlightenment may also be achieved. If you are reborn in a Pure Land, it will be the Pure Land of a manifestation body. This is not the ultimate Pure Land of full Buddhahood. You are born in that blissful realm through your positive karma. You will still have a dualistic mind, with positive mental factors and the experiences they bring. But once in the blissful realm, you will no longer drift away from the path to complete enlightenment. You will definitely achieve Buddhahood in time. We shall examine accounts of the Pure Lands in the next chapter, entitled Buddha Amitabha and his Pure Land realm. If you are reborn into one of the 6 realms, you will be tied to a physical body, human or otherwise, and influenced by the social and cultural environment around you. As long as you dwell in that body, you can keep gradually improving your karma so that in your present or future life, you may have a better existence. However, it is nearly impossible to fully attain the supreme, everlasting Buddhahood, the Sambhogakaya of complete enlightenment while bound by a coarse, physical body. For those practitioners who are ready, this realization is more readily accomplished after death, when they are no longer constrained by their coarse physical form. The cause of rebirth. There is never a rebirth without a cause. The cause of birth and death in the 6 realms is 6 afflictive emotions: self-importance, attachment, desire, ignorance, greed, and anger. These painful mental states form the root of the distinction between ordinary beings and liberated ones within our consciousness. Dualistic concepts arise directly in the mind, clinging to any object as if it truly exists. When we cling to a self, we habitually create separation between this and that, instead of realizing the essential oneness of all phenomena. These mental habits of differentiation trigger liking or disliking, craving or aversion. We feed these emotional states through the sounds we utter and our modes of communication. Habitually cultivating positive thoughts or actions leads to happiness and rebirth in higher realms or Pure Lands. Habitually cultivating negative thoughts or actions leads to pain and suffering and results in rebirth in the lower realms. As I have mentioned, if you are a highly realized master, you can free yourself from the cycle of birth and death by attaining enlightenment. If you fully realize vast wisdom, primordially emptiness is our true nature, then the conceptual grasping of self will be liberated, and all suffering, including karmic causes and effects, will end. This means no further rebirth. Reaching that level of realization, you can become of immeasurable benefit to countless other beings. However, The majority of us cling to our mental experiences, believing them to be truly existent. We even reinforce such attachments with the energy of liking or disliking. Moreover, we express these feelings not just through thoughts but also through words and deeds, which become seeds that form karmic imprints. The sum of these bodily, verbal, and mental actions creates habitual tendencies in the continuous flow of mind that determine our life. This karma propels us into the causes of rebirth, whether in a Pure Land or among the six realms. Note that all our dualistic concepts and emotional states, even the good ones such as care, affection, and wishing for others' welfare, are still intertwined with ego clinging. Therefore, while positive emotions are beneficial, they remain far from complete perfection, which is the basic wisdom free from dualistic thinking and emotional fluctuations. Still, attaching to positive qualities can be stepping stones toward perfection, helping us gradually let go of grasping at self and thereby enjoy more peace and joy. This transformation from negative to positive and from positive to perfect is the ideal path to ultimate enlightenment, also called the supreme perfection. The six realms of samsara. The six worldly realms form a collective known as samsara, or the wheel of cyclic existence. In Buddhist depictions, these are often represented in an image called the wheel of life. These realms are divided into 3 lower and 3 higher realms. The 3 lower realms are domains of great suffering. 1. Hell realm. Beings in these hells endure unceasing torment from burning flames and being immersed in boiling metal liquids or trapped in freezing snow and ice. 2. Hungry ghost realm. Beings here suffer ceaseless pain from hunger and thirst. 3. Animal realm. Beings endure constant fear, ignorance, and servitude. The beings here do not die from their agonies, even though they are burned in the hell's fires. They remain unless and until the karmic force that caused those rebirths ends. The 3 higher realms enjoy more happiness but are still caught in unending suffering. 4. Asura realm. Also called demigods. They enjoy material abundance but suffer from continual fighting and strife. 5. Heavenly realm. Devas. Gods. Experience great and long-lasting pleasures, but these pleasures are still worldly, predominantly of a sensual nature, and lead ultimately to suffering. Their lifespans are long compared to ours, but not truly eternal. Eventually, their good karma runs out, they die, and they move on to whichever realm is dictated by the karmic forces that remain. 6. Human realm. Even if we live a happy life with abundant knowledge, resources, and experiences, we remain bound to the cycle of birth, sickness, old age, and death. We suffer from losing what we desire, facing what we do not want, not obtaining what we wish for, and always having to protect what we have. The 6 afflictive emotions. Seeds of rebirth in the 6 realms. Which of these 6 realms awaits your next rebirth? It depends on the dominating emotions recorded in the karmic memory of your mind. Are these emotions anger, greed, delusion, desire, clinging, or arrogance? Or are they positive emotions such as compassion, generosity, discernment between right and wrong, contentment, joy, or humility? These factors transform into specific forms of rebirth, whether in the 6 samsaric realms or a Pure Land. According to many teachings, the main imprint of negative karma influenced by anger, expressed through intense aggression and actions of violence, leads to the hot or cold torments of the hell realms. In Chapter 1, we discussed 4 aspects of karmic action: object, intention, decision, and execution. With anger, you have the object, someone or something you are angry with. Your intention, the intensity of that anger, the execution actually expressing or acting on it, and the completion experiencing the emotion of that anger. Some people easily manifest anger and spend much of their life resentful, reacting fiercely to most other people. They say anything that bursts out of their anger, generating conflict and violence in their personal lives and the lives of those around them. Even if they are currently in human form, their personal experience mirrors that of the hell realm, burning, insecurity, being easily hurt, and protecting their fragile ego with a hardened exterior. Soon after they die, because of these deeply ingrained habits of anger, the mental experiences that appear and flare up will match those of the hells. In reality, there is no external judge or court condemning you. It is simply karmic retribution replaying in the stream of your mind. In several stories from the bardo, intermediate state, teachings, there are vivid and astonishing examples of the suffering in the hell realms. We must remember that everything perceived in the bardo forms, sounds, sensations are nothing other than the full-blown manifestation of one's own mind, much like in a dream. They are simply replays of positive or negative imprints embedded in the flow of consciousness through self-clinging, perceiving objects as inherently real. Shantideva taught, all fears and boundless suffering arise from the mind. So taught the perfect one, who perceived reality, who created the tools of the hell realms, who forged all the red-hot iron ground. Whence come these flames? All these are but manifestations of your own mind's sorrow. Thus, with anger, negative verbal karma also leaves imprints through your harsh words. Physical karma does so through violent actions. Both become causes for corresponding suffering and rebirth in lower states. In summary, the karma of anger or aggression causes suffering from heat and cold, leading to rebirth in the hell realms. The karma of greed or craving causes suffering from hunger and thirst, leading to rebirth in the hungry ghost realm. The karma of delusion or ignorance causes the suffering of stupidity and fear, leading to rebirth as an animal. The karma of desire and craving leads to the suffering of birth, aging, sickness, and death, resulting in rebirth in the human realm. The karma of clinging leads to the suffering of constant warfare and jealousy, resulting in rebirth in the asura realm. The karma of arrogance and pride leads to the suffering of confusion and fear of death, then to rebirth in the heavenly realm. At a broader level, these can be grouped into three harmful actions: anger, greed, and ignorance, which cause the three lower realm rebirths. As Nagarjuna taught, greed leads one to the hungry ghost realm, anger leads one to the hell realm, ignorance leads one into the animal realm. It is not only the nature of the action but also its intensity that determines the rebirth in a specific realm. Gampopa said that any negative karma done repeatedly with anger toward a greatly enlightened being eventually leads to the hell realm. Done repeatedly with greed toward an enlightened being of medium attainment leads to the hungry ghost realm. Done repeatedly with ignorance toward a lesser realized being leads to rebirth in the animal realm. The weight of karma also depends on how serious or slight the mental intention is, how harsh your words are, and how much harm your actions cause others. The more severe it is for others, the heavier its consequences for yourself. Among the manifold karmic results, whichever matures first is the one with the greatest weight. Next is what is done closest to the moment of death. This near-death karma exerts a powerful momentum on the next life. Then one experiences the effects of the most frequent karma created, and finally that which was created most recently. Although the seeds of karma lie deeply within your consciousness, there is encouraging news. You can still avoid the worst rebirths, such as the hell realms, if you transform your long-held inner habits. The choice of your next rebirth lies in your own hands. At the end of your life during the intermediate state, you may face intense fear and loneliness. At that point, the mind exerts its most powerful pressure to seek a new place to be reborn, often with little regard for the quality of that destination. In such a situation, you must be especially vigilant, for that is precisely when you have a good opportunity to close the door to a mistaken rebirth and choose the correct one. To accomplish this, you must learn to recognize the signs of where you are heading. We discussed several of these signs in Chapter 4, the intermediate state, recognizing the bardo leading us to future rebirth. See page 90 in the English version. If your very good or very bad karma is extremely powerful, you will have no chance to choose your next rebirth. Those potent karmic forces will decide on their own. But if your karma is not that strong, then any effort you put in at that time may grant you the best possible chance for a favorable rebirth. For that to succeed, you must be well versed in methods for shutting the door to an incorrect rebirth and choosing a more favorable one. In Chapter 9, in the section on ceremonies for the dying and the dead, We will examine these instructions in more detail, with rituals to help the dying recognize and avoid the 3 lower realms. Let me briefly outline a simpler version of the teachings on how to reject unfavorable signs of rebirth and choose the better ones. Avoiding an incorrect rebirth. If you are a highly accomplished meditator, someone who has realized and abides in the true nature of mind, you should remain in that state of awareness without wavering. Doing so, rather than being reborn, you can instead attain Buddhahood. If you cannot remain in that realization, but you have accumulated merit and taken refuge in a particular Buddha or Pure Land, you should immediately return your mind to that Buddha and Pure Land with intense aspiration. This fervent confidence in being reborn in a pure realm can free you from further wandering in the 6 realms. For example, if in your lifetime you planted the seed of devotion to Amitabha Buddha, the Buddha of infinite light, trusting him as infinitely compassionate, omniscient, and omnipotent, then in the bardo, you can bring to mind the memory of that refuge. Instantly, you will perceive Amitabha Buddha and his Pure Land. How to cultivate such a strong habit of reliance and devotion? By repeatedly focusing on that Buddha, that Pure Land, and the associated virtues through recitation, prayer, or group practice, until that recollection becomes second nature. Then, after death, you will spontaneously recall the image of the Buddha of compassion, of peace, of wisdom, and his land of bliss. Details of how to practice this are in Appendix A. You must cultivate the karma that leads to rebirth in the Pure Land, namely love, generosity, virtue, wise discernment, joy, and reverence, particularly by putting them into practice through service to others. If you can do so, you will have the chance to choose a higher rebirth endowed with excellent conditions. At that point, remember the sign of that specific realm and choose it. For instance, if a sign for the God realm appears, but you wish to be born as a human, you must reject the gentle white light signifying the realm of gods and instead choose the bright, clear blue light for humans. While you are moving through the bardo, do not allow yourself to be caught up in longing for a loved one or clinging to possessions. These thoughts will carry you in the wrong direction. Focus your mind solely on the path to the rebirth you have selected. As we saw in Chapter 4, the doors leading to each of the 6 realms may appear as lights of different colors: blue, white, yellow, red, smoky gray, or black. The texts often say, white soft light for gods or humans. Yellowish lights might signify asuras or animals, sometimes replaced by red for animals and possibly something like a turbulent storm for asuras. Smoky gray for hungry ghosts. Blackish swirling light or certain illusions for the hell realms. Even so, you might still feel attracted or repelled. Here's a simplified instruction on how to close the door to a mistaken birth and instead move toward a better sign. 1. If you see a couple engaged in sexual intercourse, often interpreted as potential future parents, resist any lustful or jealous thoughts toward either partner. Instead, view them as the sacred union of your root lama or a divine couple such as Padmasambhava, Guru Rinpoche, and Yeshe Sogyal, or some other male-female Buddha pair. With deep respect, make offerings and take refuge in them, seeking their blessings. 2. If you cannot block the door to rebirth, again see that couple as the union of Amitabha and Avalokiteshvara, Shanrezig, or some other deity pair. Offer your homage and offerings, imagining you receive their blessings. 3. Anger normally arises when one is about to be born as a male, feeling drawn to the mother and jealous or hostile to the father, or vice versa for a female birth. If that happens, resolve firmly. I will not allow my mind to be taken over by lust or hatred. 4. If you cannot close the door, recognize all these appearances are illusions, like a dream, lacking inherent existence. This recognition dissolves your fixation on them as real and blocks the path of being reborn through that channel. 5. If you still cannot block the door, then as soon as anything appears, visualize it being absorbed into light. Think, all these phenomena are my own mind, and the mind is emptiness. Then rest in that natural state, letting the mind remain in its inherent condition, just as water flows back into water, returning everything to oneness. Jigme Lingpa advises, when the being in the bardo sees a couple engaged in intercourse, they rush in like flies into a trash can. If the person has karma to be reborn, they enter that womb unable to avoid it. At that critical moment, you must be bold, taking refuge in a fully realized being or resolutely choosing to remain in the womb only if it leads to a noble human birth. This helps you secure a higher rebirth in the human realm. Choosing the correct place of rebirth. If you have decided to be reborn in the pure land of great bliss, you should turn away from the 6 realms. Avoid clinging to friends, family, or possessions. You must generate strong, confident aspiration. I will be miraculously born within a lotus at the feet of Amitabha in the land of bliss. If, however, you cannot be reborn in a pure land and find yourself seeing signs of the 6 realms, be mindful of what you perceive. Seeing tall, beautiful houses can signal rebirth in the celestial realm. Seeing forests, storms, or large bodies of water may indicate the Asura realm. Seeing people conversing in normal houses in a pleasant setting may be a sign of the human realm. Seeing caves, huts, or fog may be an animal realm sign. Seeing dry riverbanks or dark, dirty places can be a hungry ghost sign. Seeing red buildings, black earth, dark caves, or foggy roads may be hell realm signs, though some texts say these illusions are simply karmic illusions leading to the hell realms. The specifics may vary. When you notice such phenomena, you must resist the urge to take refuge in them. Even if a sign for a lower realm arises, you must do your best to aim for a human rebirth or, if possible, a divine one if you cannot reach a pure land. Because it is extremely difficult, while in the bardo, to discern precisely which place is truly right or wrong. As illusions confuse the mind, you can rely on the following technique. If you have practiced meditations on wrathful deities, such as Vajrapani, visualize yourself as that powerful deity, large, majestic, fearsome in appearance, but with a loving, omniscient mind. Then confidently proclaim that the Lord of Death or frightening illusions have no real power over you. This may help you open a window of clarity or divine vision to see the true nature of your potential rebirth place, letting you make the right choice. At this point, fervently aspire, may I be born into a virtuous family of practitioners. May I become someone who can benefit all sentient beings. Also, when entering a womb, pray to regard it as a celestial mansion populated by deities such as Avalokiteshvara, receiving blessings from them. Or, view the mother and father as your spiritual teachers in divine union, making offerings to them. Even if you see a positive place, do not become attached to it. Even if you see a negative place, do not become angry. Enter your new birth or womb with equanimity. Unless you have significant meditative experience, it will be difficult to overcome habitual tendencies in the bardo, but you can at least attempt the following. Do not forget that you are in the bardo, a transitional phase. Try walking upright with your head held high, continually reciting the Buddha's name and taking refuge in the 3 jewels, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. Do not cling to family or wealth you left behind. Move toward the clear blue light of the human realm, or, if possible, the pure white light of the heavenly realm. If you can manage even a little bit of spiritual clarity, or if you retain some recollection to be reborn as a human or a deity, you will receive strong support from prayers, guidance, and dedication by spiritual friends or loved ones immediately after your death. Often, your consciousness in the bardo can still connect with the living world right after passing, so instructions and prayers from friends or guides can reach and benefit you. We should strive our best to practice these correct thoughts and actions in the bardo. In this book, I have focused special attention on being reborn in a peaceful, blissful realm after death. For a Buddhist, that generally means the pure land of Amitabha, the Buddha of infinite light, although one might choose another Buddha realm. Now let us move on to chapter 7, where we will examine this Buddha and his pure land, a powerfully inspiring object of faith and refuge, where we can sincerely aspire to take birth. By contemplating and praying to Amitabha, and by accumulating merit, we can be reborn in his blissful realm, a realm of great peace and joy assisted by the accounts of the Buddha's own teachings describing this pure land.